Betty.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Wonderful. So good to meet you. Thank you so much for taking your time to do this and letting me interview
Yeah,
you and chat. And
of course. It's nice
yay.
to meet
Okay.
you in person.
Yes, likewise. A little bit of background. I always love hearing how people get into what they're doing. So I'd love to hear how your business began and why you chose to purchase Maple Street Bistro.
So I was working in insurance in Spokane, Washington. I worked for a big brokerage, and I was an underwriter in employee benefits. And it was awful. It was boring. There was not a lot to do. Um, and my background is in logistics, actually. So when I moved to Spokane, I worked in insurance for a couple years, hated it. And then my cubicle neighbor, her and I would always talk about our past and working in coffee when we were younger. And so Maple Street Bistro came up for sale on Craigslist, which is so random.
Oh, wow.
And my cubicle neighbor said, we should buy it. And so we met the owner. It was kind of a failing business. Not failing, but I don't think he would have made it much longer if even through COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So it was pretty rough. I think he just had the idea that it could function on its own without an owner, but that's not the case for businesses necessarily.
No.
Yeah. So we checked it out, looked at it, went over some of his P&Ls, and we're like, all right, let's buy it. So we put an offer in, and he accepted. And then we bought it. We didn't even use a lawyer, no broker, nothing. It was just kind of showed up, signed some sale.
Yeah.
Um, and then, which I would never recommend going forward ever. That was a big mistake, but it worked out actually in our favor. So
Okay.
um, and he handed us the keys.
Oh my
That was
gosh,
that.
that's crazy. That's so cool, though.
Yeah,
How fun.
yeah, yeah. Glad it worked out. Everything was good.
Yeah. Well, it's worked out well. I've loved going there over the years since I moved back to Spokane, and my friends and I will spend hours on hours just chatting and enjoying coffee and little treats. So you guys are doing
I
something
love
right for
that.
sure.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, I love hearing that when people have heard about the place or have been there. That's so great.
Yes. You kind of mentioned it already, but if you had to start from square one in business, what would you do differently?
So what I would do differently, so this is my first business that I've almost been in for about 6 years. What I would do differently is I would create more processes for employees. So verbal, a verbal process isn't really the way to go with a business. You want to write it all down. That way somebody has a reference and that it's just there and you have something to go off of. So creating SOPs. We didn't do that. So I bought it with a business partner in 2018. We kind of just, it was like trial and error. So we got in there and we just kind of would see what would work, but we weren't documenting a lot of it. And I think that's really important with a business is creating some sort of process and documenting it. That way an employee can look at it if they're lost or they kind of need a reference to go off of. So that's what I would do differently. Um, there's another thing I would do differently, which is create an operating agreement with a business. So that's really important. And I don't think a lot of people um, think about that or approach that idea when they're entering a business partnership. So operating agreements are incredibly important for any business because even if it's just yourself in business, but the operating agreement is kind of like a layout or a roadmap of who does what, who's responsible for what piece of the business. And I think that's really important so that it's not, when it comes to a business partnership, not like, well, who's going to take care of this? And who's going to take care of that? Because we all have strengths and weaknesses, and you
Oh,
want
yeah.
those to align, right? So having, that base of um, who is responsible for what is very important. I think it would help greatly. So we didn't do that in the beginning.
Ooh.
That's what I would do differently. Makes it eeasier.
I'm sure. Going off of that, what has been your biggest learning as an employer since you began in business?
So at first, I would say equipment issues. Equipment
Oh,
breaks down, especially in a restaurant. Refrigerators, AC units, they're constantly breaking down. The more wear and tear, you're always just weekly on the phone with maintenance. It's like trying to get somebody in there. So that has been a really big challenge. But the more I think about it, the more I would say the biggest challenge is employees. Employees are, I don't want to say they're difficult, but you need to, it's like each employee is different. So each employee has different needs and wants. Like some are motivated by money, some are motivated by compliments, some are motivated by productivity or being creative. And so appeasing all of those with each employee is very challenging. You can't just
yeah.
treat them all like robots, right? They're not just the same person. They're all different.
Nope.
And I don't want all of the same employee too, because some care about different things, which is really helpful for the business. Some might care about getting all the dishes done, at all times, right? Or wiping down the tables or quality within the shop. But some might be more inclined to the customer satisfaction and that customer experience. So they're more drawn to that. So having different types of employees is really important, but it's also the biggest challenge is motivating them. How do I challenge them in a good way? How do I um, make them all happy? And it's a lot of it stems from coming in and saying and asking about their weekend or their hobbies or what have they been doing, and they like that. Some of them are a little bit more quiet about their personal life, but engaging with employees is very important. But again, it's been extremely challenging just with employee turnover. So
Ooh,
can't capture them all, but um, I have an amazing manager who has
okay.
done an incredible job. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's so important. So, kind of going off of all of that, what are some common misconceptions about running a business and how do you address them?
Common misconceptions. You're gonna have all the free time in the world, right? You get to set your own
Oh,
schedule.
yeah.
That's not, nope, you're a slave to your business. It's either you run the business or the business runs you. Um,
Literally.
yes, so that is a common misconception. You're always working. You're even with having sometimes you're always working physically. Sometimes you're not always working physically, but you're always working up here. You're always mentally working. So sometimes at night, it'd be like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh, I know how to figure this out, or I know how to solve this problem. And it's constant. You're always thinking about your business at all times. And so there's never a free moment in your life. You're basically married to that business. So that is a very common perception. That business will slap you down and make you humble over and over again.
I love that. That's so true. Um, on a little bit more positive note, what do you attribute your growth to?
I would say my work ethic. I have a very strong work ethic, and that's something I'm very proud of. I have a dad who, you know, made sure that his kids were doing 8 hours of chores on the weekends. Come home from school, you've got a lot of chores, and then you're going to do homework. And then you also have, you know, softball practice, all the sports practices. So there was never a free moment, I'd say, in my childhood. So I was constantly working as a kid. I would, that's probably the biggest thing that has helped me in business. I'm not afraid of hard work at all. I'll do it all if I have to. I'll work the long hours. I'll work the long days. I'll work 7 days a week if I have to. I don't want to.
Yeah.
That and my manager. I came across someone that she's just so incredible. She's my business partner now,
Nice.
as of last month. And once you find a good manager, you want to hold on to them forever. they'll make your life better.
Nice. That's really good to know. Okay, kind of going off of that, and I know we mentioned this a little bit in our initial phone call, but how do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
I think that's different for every business owner. We all have a way of stepping out, kind of detoxing from our business in a way. My way of balancing it, the business to my personal life, having free time, is I like to backpack. And when I go backpacking, I don't have service. I cannot use my phone, whether I like it or not. Whether I want to check sales or check on the employees, I can't. I can't do it. So that's my way of balancing business, work life to my personal life, having that free time, checking out is just no service. And when I'm in service, I'm checking my emails, I'm checking my sales, I'm checking on the employees, I'm checking the cameras. And it's something where, if it's around me, I'm going to look. So I
Yeah.
have to kind of force myself out of that situation. It's kind of like if you were trying to cut back on sugar, you're not going to have ice cream and chips and just all that stuff in your house. So it's kind of like that. In order to step away from my business and have some peace of mind, I just have to completely step out, get the phone away from me.
I
And you have
feel
to
that.
trust your employees. You got to put all
Yeah.
that trust in them, So that's how I do
That's a
that.
really good tip. I need to do that more too. I'm constantly on my phone. It's kind of a
Yeah,
problem.
it's so hard, and if it's in front of us, we're gonna do it,
Gosh.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I've really gotten used to the work app where it's like, okay, or setting where it's like
yeah,
no notification. That helps so much.
that helps so much. And so I have turned off notifications for email and my social media for the business so that I'm
Ooh.
not constantly stimulated by those and, having that feeling of like, oh, I got to do this right now. I got to check this right now. I got to reply right now. That can wait. You're the
Yeah.
most important piece in your business. So put yourself for first and then the rest will fall into place.
I love that. That's so true. I know we kind of touched on this a little bit, but what qualities do you look for in employees and how do you foster a positive and productive work environment?
So I literally will hire everybody if I could. That's why I don't do the hiring anymore. Um, but what I like is a strong work ethic because that's what I want. I want strong employees mentally and physically in my establishment. Um, what something I really do like to ask if I am doing the interviewing in employees is what hobbies do you have? Because I like somebody with hobbies that they're passionate about. I like to see that spark in their eyes. Like, sometimes it's gardening, sometimes it's, I get a lot of crafters, like young
Oh,
people with
fun.
crafting. Yeah. And so when they're really psyched about making jewelry or crocheting, thrifting. I love it. Anything. And especially if it's something I can relate to. I'm a big runner. I'm very athletic. So somebody's very passionate about something similar to me, I get even more excited. But I think it's important to have that kind of hobby, something that's not work or school that they have going on in their personal life. I like that. And to foster a good work environment, that is a struggle that still trying to figure out because my shop is very busy, so it's constant go
Yeah.
go go. But having you know a laid back environment, open door policy, come to us with any problems, we'll address it. Keeping it fun, keeping it light, joking around with the employees. Again, asking about their lives, their personal lives, what they like, what they don't like, is the the most important part of keeping, a good work environment for the employees. Again, still trying to figure it out as far as like, especially as the employees change. We are employing Gen Z right now, so a little different, a
Mhm.
little different crowd. And again, it comes down to every employee is different. They're not robots. And he's like, you got to change with the times if you want to if you want to keep your staff, you want less turnover, and but not also not letting them walk all over you. So it's a fine line of keeping them
Oh yeah.
happy, but also um, keeping the business up and running and having a good. Yeah.
Feel it. Well, looking ahead, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And do you have any advice for other business owners who are looking to grow their business?
Okay, so 5 years. I hope to have two more locations.
Oh my God.
This is why I brought on my manager as a business partner. Not only is she amazing, but she has a business mindset as well. And what we want to do is open more locations for Maple Street Bistro. We would
Nice.
love that. Something, just at least two more locations within 5 years. I think that would be really awesome because we can just replicate what we have and put it somewhere else, somewhere in Spokane, a couple other places, maybe a drive-through, maybe it could be Maple
Ooh,
Street Express, who knows? Um,
nice.
then so we'd love to do something like that. And advice to other business owners, or someone maybe wanting to become a business owner is don't give up. Just don't give up. There's times where I haven't slept all night because I'm just thinking, what am I going to do? And you know, head in my hands, like, I don't know how I can go on with this business. I've hit rock bottom with this business a couple times over. Uh, and when you've gotten to that point, that means you really, really care. So not giving up is extremely important because it's worth it. It just makes the reward all the better
Yeah.
when you hit that and you figure it out. You'll figure it out. So just not giving up. I think that's very important. And an operating agreement. That's another. I would highly recommend the operating agreement. Yep. And not trying to do everything yourself. Delegate. People want to
Yeah.
help. Employees want to help. They don't want to stand around. They want a task. They want something to do. So I think that's really important is delegating the work instead of the whole mindset of, well, I can just do it because you
Yeah.
don't want to. You got other things to do in business.
Exactly. I get that.
Yeah.
That's so
So
cool.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
then my last question is, what question should I be asking you that I haven't yet?
Gosh, that's a great question. I'm not really sure. I was gonna say what's next, but you already asked me the 5 years. So um maybe, you know, do I have any regrets?
Oh,
Maybe that would be a good question, but I
yeah.
don't. I don't have any regrets, and I would hope that any business owner wouldn't have any regrets, even when things you have messed up. Um, you know, errors, everything. There's a learning experience in everything that you do, especially
Yeah.
in business. I mean, there's so many business owners, successful business owners, millionaires that have made tons of mistakes. They have been bankrupt. They have, been sued, so many things, but they become successful. So they're always learning. So, I sometimes I contemplate like things that I regret maybe that I've done in business, but all learning. A learning experience. There's always something you can learn from every mistake that you made. Um, but I guess that was the only thing.
I love that. Oh, that's so important. Well, I think
Yeah.
those are all of my questions. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Lauren.
You're very welcome. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.